Hello, I wanted to make a video for the summer online students about the robot project. So the way this works in the class is different. So these videos are really just for the summer online people. If other people want to watch them, that's fine, but they're really for summer online. And so what I wanted to do here, so I'm just kind of like looking at the calendar for this is the summer of 2018, could be any summer though, and talk about how the project normally works and how yours is a little different. So in the normal class, what we do is the day before exam one, we have a little like project intro day. It's just to kind of like start the ball rolling. And we do a slideshow called Robot Overview, which we're going to look at very briefly together in this. And then connecting in PyCharm. That's where we're going to spend most of our time. That's the second slide deck, connecting from PyCharm. But we're going to do it a little different because summer online is individuals instead of teams of three. So we're actually going to skip some steps because we're a team of three, not a team of one. And so the first day we go over the robot overview, and then we kind of barely start connecting with PyCharm. And then before exam two, we have another robot day. And so we do connecting with PyCharm, and then we try to start the third one, which is check out your team repo. And so the second one's where we're going to spend most of our time. The third one is about working in a team with Git, but summer online, you don't care about that. You're just working individual. So we're going to spend almost no time with that one. And then after those three, then it kind of gets into the hands-on, the nitty-gritty. So then you get into drive motors. And drive motors, you'll notice, does have a video. So once we get to that point, summer online will be the same as the face-to-face. So I'm just going to focus on these three. So just to kind of reiterate, they were called Robot Overview is number one. Connecting from PyCharm, this we're going to spend most of our time. And then check out your team GitHub repo. We're going to spend almost no time there. So robot overview, what I would really like for you to do is I'd like for you to pause the video now and go look at the slides. I'm going to really quickly just cruise through the slides, but you really should get the details from the slides themselves. So the idea is that we're giving you a Lego robot, which is fun. But instead of using it like a Lego robot, we put in an SD card here. And what this does is this turns it into a small computer, right? So it is a computer. It just has no keyboard, no monitor, no mouse, but it is a computer. And what we're going to do is we're going to run programs on here, but the programs that we're going to run are going to be Python scripts, and you're actually going to type into your computer and tell it to run things, right? So it's kind of like if you've ever thought about how servers work, like servers is like a computer in the basement of some other building, right? And you can like connect to that server and you can use the command line to run commands on it. That's how we're going to use this. So it's kind of like a server. If you look at this thing, there's a couple different things in the box. So you should have a tub. This tub has a mini USB cable in it. The mini USB cable is actually connects to the camera, by the way, and we are not going to do that till later. There's another spot you can connect it to the brick over here. Don't ever do that, right? That's not what that cable is for. It says PC on there. I really should put a piece of tape over that. That is not useful. Other things that should be in your box are your charger plug. So mine's plugged into the wall here, but you should have a charger plug. You should have a safety brick. So whenever it's on the table, it should really be sitting on its little safety stand. You have a remote control, which we'll use later, and then a tape measure, which we'll use in drive motors. Those are kind of the parts. Safety and power are important. In general, when I'm working with mine, I keep it on the table, always on the wooden block. If it's ever going to drive, make sure it's on the ground, right? But I keep mine plugged in all the time. Battery voltage goes up to about 8.2 volts, and if it drops down to 6.5, your robot turns off. It doesn't turn back on again until you charge the battery. It runs off the battery, not the wall, right? So if you plug it into the wall but the battery's low, it still doesn't run. It's just charging the battery, right? Turning it on and off. So you hit this middle button here. It's called the enter button to both turn it on And then you also use it to turn it off. It does take a little while. So mine is currently on. I can see the green on here. If I hit the back button, which is kind of the button up here that says back, to go to the top, eventually I'll hit power off. And it does take a few minutes to both power up and power down. It's a computer. It's a little Linux computer. It takes about 2 minutes both directions. The interface itself, it has a little thing called the Brickman interface. You'll kind of learn more about that. One thing that's different about Summer Online, by the way, is that you're going to have to connect to your wireless network. So any wireless network that you're on that receives a password, you can do that with the Brickman interface. And the way you can get there is you can navigate the interface, but it's pretty intuitive. I'll turn my back on here. You have to go into Wi-Fi networks and find the one that you're on if you're just at your home and connect to it using the password. I also recommend that you check a box that says connect automatically. That way you don't have to do it every time. You just have to do it once and that's it. Other things that we've got on here is we've got some demos. You can follow along on the slides and you can run these demos. One is an IR remote to kind of run it around some. You can see that here's a video if you actually read these slides in more detail. The other one is called Sequential Drive. These are on your robot already. They are in the demos folder. You can actually just run them. Oh, I decided to run mine. So the way you run them yourself is you use the Brickman Explorer. I'm going to go into File Browser. From the File Browser, I'm going to go into Demo. And there's 2 demos that can run. One is called Sequential Drive. The other is called IR Remote. Important thing about how these robots work is when you hit run, nothing happens for a little bit. In fact, some programs, the bigger the program, it actually takes a while, 20-30 seconds before it starts. This one starts really slow because of the way it's written. It's kind of written poorly, to be honest. I wrote it, so I can say that. But when this one does start, the arm will go up and down, and then you can use the remote control to drive it around. The remote control, by the way, the arm goes. The remote control has channels, so if I go to channel 1, channel 1 can be used to drive the wheels. By the way, the sensor is in the front here, so if I drive this wheel, it goes. If I drive the other wheel, it goes. That's the IR remote, right? In this program, I hit the back button. So you can play with it. Channel 2 does some things as well. Other things I just kind of wanted to mention about this guy is his inputs and his outputs. So he's got 2 drive motors and then 1 motor for the arm. It lifts it up and grips it, which is kind of a cool design. There's some example code in here, but we'll see this later in the course. He has 4 sensors on him. He's got a little touch sensor in here, so he knows when the arm's all the way up. He's got a pixie camera, which can see different color blobs, which we added, which is kind of fun. He's got a remote control sensor. It's also a distance sensor. And then on the bottom, he's got a little color sensor, so for color finding. So that's kind of the overview of the robot. I could talk more about it, but I think if you look at this slide deck, this one's fairly explanatory. Also, I'll say later in the course, we'll be connecting to our computers in a different way. So we're going to always be putting programs on there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But in one of the things, we're actually going to be using Mosquito, which is MQTT communication. So we're going to be running a program on our computer and then running a different program on this robot. And the 2 are going to talk with sockets. When you're off campus, there'll be a note in that file. I'll send an email about it separate. But you need to connect to a public MQTT server, not Rolls-Holman's, because if you're off campus, you can't use the Rolls-Holman one. You'll see that detail when you get there. All right, that's the overview of the robot. I'll tell you what, just to keep these videos more concise, I'll stop this video now, and I'll do the next one, which is connecting from PyCharm, in the next video. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.